our last session, I have talked about the managerial effectiveness in managerial effectiveness session 2, and we have discussed about this particular concept. Further in this concept, I would like to add, that is the effectiveness of executive is very important for the success of an organization in the contemporary business area. So, therefore, if executive is not effective, then definitely in that case down the line the employees will not be able to deliver the task, and overall effectiveness of the organization will suffer. So, we have to understand that is how to be an effective executive. Organizations need effective and competent managers to be able to reach their objectives efficiently and effectively. And as I mentioned, in the competency there is a knowledge, where we are talking about the knowledge, then there is a ability, then there are the skills, and there is a habit. So, this competency, it goes by the cache model, and one has to be very much competent, in the sense highly knowledgeable. His abilities, that is to understand that is how where is the problem. He should not work on the symptoms of the problem rather than on the roots of the problem. And then the skills, those technical skills, human skills, conceptual skills, analytical skills, designing skills, creativity skills, those skills are very, very important. And finally is the habit. So, if organization is having these competent employees, competent executives, then definitely in that case their objectives will be reached, and they will be having an efficient organization. Executives employ their competencies and enhance the economic value of the raw sources to play a crucial role in the development and the execution of organizational operations and effectiveness of the implemented strategies and policies are there. So, whatever the strategies and policies are there, related to those strategies and policies, there need to be the transfer of this type of the resources, so that the manager can efficiently handle the resources and give the output. Managerial effectiveness is a key component which enables effectual operation and delivery of the complex initiatives. So, many business is a very complex process, and therefore, it is not a linear process, and therefore, in that case, because it has to face the different situations and different business environmental factors, and as a result of which it becomes very important that is the manager should be enabled to face those type of the complex initiatives and situations. An executive is expected to get the right things done, and he is expected to be effective, and there it will be very, very much important, that is he has to get the right things done, and right things done means, like for example, the productivity, and for increasing the productivity, enhancing the productivity, manager should be take care that is there is no wastage, and similarly he is expected to be the effective. So, to be efficient, whatever resources he is using, the cost of those resources, that should be the effective cost. So, when we are talking about the managerial skills for the interpersonal dynamics, so what skills are required? The ongoing legacy of oral curves and updated typology of the management skills, management decisions paper published, and then here we will find that is what are the different skills he has talked about. I have talked about the technical skills, that is the job knowledge skills. Earlier in the managerial skills session 1, I have talked about it. Then the decision making process is having the model. In the decision making process, it becomes very important, that is the what is your plan or goal. If there is a plan and goal, then you have to find out what are the different resources are there. So, identify the best resources for achieving the goals and plans. Those whatever the resources are there, and then you have to evaluate those resources. For example, when we talk about the project, in the project when it is becoming the time management becoming a very, very important aspect, and when it is becoming the cost. So, therefore, the cost of the project that has to be controlled, and therefore, then the quality. So, therefore, when we are talking about the resources are to be used for managing the time, cost and quality, then those resources will be evaluated, that is the whether they are giving us the efficiency. So, that is the time is managed, then they are the cost effectiveness and they are the quality conscious. So, therefore, when you are evaluating these resources, and resources can be man, machine, material, money, method or minutes. So, therefore, when we talk about that is the whatever the you are having these resources related to the main, machine, material, money, method and minutes. So, all the 6 M's are to be compared and then find out which is the best alternative, evaluate the alternatives and then select the best alternative. And here when we are talking about the select the best alternative, this is your decision is there. So, therefore, in that case in decision making process, very important is that you are knowing how many alternatives are available, maximize the alternatives. If this, otherwise another one, otherwise third one or the next one, and therefore, you will find that there are the number of the alternatives, and out of those alternatives you will find that is the person will select the best alternative and that will be the right decision. So, therefore, in that case it becomes important, that is the how the person will go for this type of the decision making process. Next is the communication. So, when we talk about the 6 C's of communication, so all 6 C's of the communication that should be very efficiently and effectively used when we are talking about the human resource. Now, human skills which will be in manager will be using, then in that case it is the optimization of the manpower. So, with the knowledge, attitude, skill and habits, he will have the database. Now, human resource is also in human skills, you have to also try to understand that who is the talent and then make the talent management practices. There will be difference in the human resource management and talent management, because the talent management it is has to be very carefully handled and they should be more empowered. Those employees to whom you are classifying into the talent, talent means more creative, more risk taking, more optimistic and doing their job with the less cost and giving the best results and coming out with the new product ideas, and every day they are coming out with the something new idea which will be making the organization more effective, and that in that case these human skills that will become very important. In human skills, normally one is the leadership skills. So, when you are using the leadership skills, then that is also the best part of the and positive part of the human skills, that is the how you are leading your employees or subordinates. Next is the interpersonal skills which we are talking about, and in this we are talking about the different emotions also in the further sessions. Earlier we have talked about that is the Kahn's model and the Fairobi, in which the how interpersonal relationship is oriented. The nowadays whenever we are talking about the sustainability, in sustainability of business it becomes very important, that is the manager is flexible. Unless and until there is no flexibility, then in that case you cannot achieve the goals. So, therefore, the rigidity will not serve the purpose, and what is required is that is the employees, they are becoming the more and more flexible, and therefore, this freedom and flexibility that will give them, that is the when we are talking about the freedom is to take the decisions, and when we talk about the flexibility means variation of goals. That is what goals they want to vary or what type of the actions they want to take, and many times you will find that traditionally more the managers were rigid, but now we find that is the young managers, they are very much flexible, and therefore, in that case they are more competent also. So, if more flexibility, more competent. So, manager is required to have a flexibility skills. Then conceptual skills, which I have discussed with the technical skills, human skills, conceptual skills, analytical skills, designing skills. So, therefore, in that case the manager is required to be conceptual. Diagnostic skills means that is the analytical skills. Nowadays it is an era of the analysis, and whenever we are talking about the analysis, and that analysis is based on the you are identifying. For example, whenever we are doing any research, and in that research we diagnose and therefore we are having certain test. For example, in human resource we are having a psychological test, and therefore we identify that is what is the status, and then we get the results. Whatever results we get, then on basis of that we have a discussion. So, therefore, in that case this analytical skills, that is becoming a very important aspect. Now, here I would like to mention the difference between the managerial effectiveness and managerial efficiency. So, whenever we are talking about the effectiveness, and in the then we have pursuit of the appropriate goals. So, whether you are be able to achieve the goals or not. If you are able to achieve the goal, then definitely you are the effective is there, and you are doing the right things, then definitely doing the right thing will lead you to the effective way. Here similarly, when we are talking about the resources and doing the things right, then in that case whether we are efficient or not, and whether we are not able to reach to get the proper use of resources. So, when then we will say inefficient, and when we are not in the able to pursue our goals and doing the right things, then we will talk about the ineffective. Now, here we will find a 2 by 2 bivariate design is there. In this bivariate design, first I would like to take the ineffective and inefficient. What it means? Pursuing wrong goals. One should be very clear, that is what is my goal, and then there will be the deviations to achieving that goals. If the person will get entangled into the deviations, then definitely in that case it means that he is deviated towards the wrong goals, and then if he is deviated towards the wrong goal and he is not even performing even, then in that case he is inefficient also. So, not productive enough and are expensive. So, therefore, many times the managers you will find they are getting involved into the such activities that neither they are becoming the productive nor they are becoming the cost effective, and therefore, in that case that is becoming the ineffective and inefficient managers are there. Then in case of the resources, use of resources, you will find that is the ineffective and efficient is there. So, when we are talking about the ineffective, so therefore, ineffective means pursuing the wrong goal. So, again the example is same, that is the whatever has been supposed to be done by the manager, he is not pursuing into that, rather than deviated is there, but whatever he is doing efficiently. So, therefore, in that case not producing enough, but low cost. So, therefore, we will say the manager is the ineffective, but inefficient is there. Now, we will take the third cell, and that is talk about the effective and inefficient is there. Pursuing right goals, but the inefficient, therefore, the costs are very high. So, now actually whatever goals you are achieving, your achievement, cost of achievement, that is becoming very important, that whatever you are achieving, are you able to bear that particular cost or not, and therefore, if the cost is becoming very high, then definitely there will be no ROI, and ROI will be low. So, ultimately the business will be ineffective and inefficient. So, therefore, in that case it is becoming very important, that is the fourth the cell, and that is talk about, that is the pursuing right goals and efficient, that is the high ROI, the return on investment is very high and the cost efficient also. Now, the manager, not to be become this particular the effective and efficient manager, then in overall we will say that he is the managerial effectiveness is very high. Now, whenever we are talking about the efficiency, efficiency means that is whatever the means are there and what are the resources and what means you are using to make these particular resources is there, and use I would like to give the example, like for example, if we talk about the soy acid, and in crushing the soy acid, it is the residual or waste that is becoming the that is 100% export, that is as a cattle feed. If that is so, then in that case there will be the waste will be used, and therefore your resources become the optimization of the utilization of resources is there. If then similarly, when we talk about the effectiveness, what is effectiveness? Effectiveness, as we have discussed in the earlier slide, that is achieving the right goals, and therefore goals are there, and but whatever the ends you are using, so that is becoming the very effective, while achieving the goals as fully as possible, and therefore in that case if your ends and goals are the matching, you are achieving the goals as much as possible. So, what will be the managerial success? The output will be low resource use, high efficiency. We have seen in the earlier diagram also, biovariate diagram also, that is if the low resources are used, then there is a high efficiency there, and a high goal achievement and high effectiveness, and therefore in that case it will become a managerial effectiveness, because the employees are able to get the high goal achievements and the high effectiveness. Now, we will come to the models of the managerial effectiveness. This model is given by the Campbell, Dennett, Lawler and Wellick, proposed in the PPP model, and therefore, in this case we will find that in the organizational environment. When we talk about the organization environment, earlier I have mentioned that is the organizational environment also depend on your spelt approach: social, political, economical, legal and technological. So, therefore, whatever the factors I am talking here, so they are taken from these all 6 dimensions. Now, here the Campbell has talked about that is the in organization environment, their first and foremost is that is the individual characteristics, there is a person. So, whenever we are talking about the person, first will be the intelligence, IQ. Now you please see that is the earlier theories were there, that is you cannot raise the IQ, but now we can say that is the IQ can with the age also IQ can be developed and it can be changed. So, what is required? So, IQ, but in the intelligence there are 3 intelligence is becoming. The first is the IQ plus EQ plus SQ. IQ means intelligent quotient. So, whenever there is an intelligent quotient, then in that case the person will be doing this activity with the very efficiently, and therefore, in that case he will be the IQ. But it has been seen that many managers, they are having the high IQ and they have not become successful. Then what is required? Then there is a EQ required, emotional quotient is required. Emotional quotient means emotional stability. Emotional stability by self awareness, self regulation, motivation, empathy and the socialization. By all these dimensions, then in that case if the person is the emotionally stable, so he is able to use the intelligence in a right direction. And third is that is, but it has been seen that is not only the IQ and EQ, but what is required is spirituality. Spirituality is the one part of the spirituality, you can say the empathy is a part of the EQ, but when you are talking about the spirituality, spirituality means the devotion, spirituality means commitment, employee commitment. So, therefore, in that case whenever we are talking about the individual characteristics is becoming very important through IQ, EQ and SQ. Second is the aptitude of the individual. What is the aptitude of the individual? As we are working in business is a social identity. So, naturally in that case the whatever the aptitude is required, it is a very right aptitude will do, and they, because especially aptitude contributes into the decision making process. So, why some organizations are becoming more successful as compared to others? The managers, those executives, those who are working in that organization, they are having the very right aptitude, and if most of the managers and executives are having the right aptitude, then definitely their effectiveness will be very high. Third is the knowledge. Knowledge is having five levels. Knowledge is knowledge level 1, knowledge level 2, knowledge level 3, knowledge level 4, knowledge level 5, and this knowledge, that converting two things are very important. Pre-knowledge is the information, So, but what is the source of information from where you have collected the data, and that is why the data collection is becoming a very important. If it is not authenticated data, then your whole interpretation, your whole results, they will be misleading. So, what is important is that is the knowledge is taken from the basis of information, and then the authenticity of the information on the basis of authenticity of data. So, therefore, in that case it becomes very important, that is the you are reaching to the knowledge level 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If the employee or manager is able to reach to the knowledge level 5, then definitely in that case he will be becoming the highly knowledgeable worker. If any organization, if managers and executives, if they are very highly knowledgeable persons, then definitely the chances, not 100%, because not necessarily every knowledgeable person will be efficient manager, because possessing the knowledge is the one, but the implementation of knowledge is the another very important dimension. So, in that case it becomes for important for the people, those who are working as an individual into the organization, and then they are having the high level knowledge, level 5 knowledge. Then it is the temperament. What is the temperament is there? So, in the temperament there can be the short temperament, and if the person is having, is not cool or is not having the balance of mind, then definitely in that case the short temperament will destroy the team building, and if it destroy the team building, the managerial effectiveness will be affected. So, what is important is that is the proper temperament is required. So, next is the preference. Preference is, that is the whenever you are taking any decision, either or, and whenever you are taking either or, you are choosing the best alternative, as I mentioned in the decision making process. But what is your preference? Many people prefer, they prefer the materialistic value as compared to human values, and many organizations they may be more towards the human values, but not looking for the ROI, but this type of organizations will not sustain for long period of time. So, what is required? A balance is required. If you are having the proper balance, then in that case definitely you will be able to give these particular preferences there. Next is the expectation. Expectation I will also take as a separate session later on, but what is expectation? So, in the case of these non fulfillment of expectations, and how to identify the right candidate for the right expectation. Many times if it is the mismatch between the personality and the expectation, then definitely it is becoming a very challenging job. What is required is if the person's expectations are not getting fulfilled, but from whom? We should expect from a deserving candidate, and that is why we say first deserve then desire. So, in that case if the expectations are not getting the fulfilled, then in that case it will be very difficult to get the work done, and managerial effectiveness will be highly affected. So, this becomes a very core characteristics for the managerial effectiveness. Realistic expectations, that will be the serve the purpose and solve the problems. Then the ability, as I mentioned, ability is to do the job. So, that is the competency, and competency is knowledge, attitude, skill. So, therefore, an able person, however many times in the selection process, how an organization selects their managers, and therefore, it is the nowadays it is not the one interview, but the number of interviews, level of interviews, and therefore, organization understands what exactly the need of the organization and to whom you want to select, and accordingly the person will be selected. So, therefore, in that case it is the motivation, ability of the employee and the motivation of the employee, the motivation not of the employee, but also of the manager. So, in a given organizational environment, the whatever the motivation is there, that intrinsic motivation will be the best motivation policy for achieving the results. And the last one in the individual characteristics is the opportunity. Do you get that opportunity or not? So, therefore, in that case opportunity many times is not in our hands. opportunity what we receive in it is the choice by others and it not is our own choice, and there, but we can wait for the right choice, and therefore, in that case it becomes very important, that is the whenever we talk about the individual characteristics, a very sensitive issue, then it has to be intelligent, aptitude, knowledge, temperament, preference, expectation, ability, motivation and opportunity. Now, after the person we will come to the process, because as I mentioned methods, if you remember in 6 M's of the management nowadays, main, machine, material, money and method. Method means process, what is the process is there, and first and foremost process is that is how do you planning process, and planning process into the premises. So, there will be a proper premises boundary wall, and in this boundary wall only you have to plan. Now, what can be the plan in the boundary wall? Boundary wall, the plan can be that is the either resources are available or resources are not available, and therefore, there are 8 types of plan. First is the vision. What is the vision of the organization, and if the vision of the organization is very realistic, it is achievable, then definitely in that case the problem is solved and it is not difficult to achieve the goal. So, second type of plan, that is the strategies, policies, procedure, roles and budgeting. So, therefore, when you are talking about the vision, mission and vision, mission, goal, strategy, policy, procedure, rules and budgeting, then definitely the transformation process, right, like with the help of the people to convert into the product, the transformation process will require very efficient planning. If there is an efficient planning, then definitely you can do that. Next is the goal setting. In the goal setting, that what is the manager decides that what is the goal, and if the goal will be decided on the basis of discussion with all the stakeholders, because as I mentioned, goal has to be realistic. If it is a realistic goal, then definitely in that case the person will be able to achieve the goal, but if the goal is not realistic, goal is not keeping in mind the business environment, because whenever you are deciding the goal, you have to keep in mind the business environment and the opinion of others. Whenever you are having the opinions of others and their valuable input, the things become much better. Then the decision making process, already I have discussed in the previous slide decision making process. Then delegation. To whom you delegate? Delegate is done only of the authority, no delegation of the responsibility. So, therefore, normally the managers they delegate to their subordinates, but the point is to whom, because there may be 4 subordinates and to whom you delegate. The person, if the deserving candidate, right, then definitely the delegation is authenticated. But in the case if there is no proper delegation to the right person, then definitely in that case the person will misuse that authority and power. So, one has to be very careful in managerial effectiveness to identify whether the candidate to whom you are using the delegation is the right person or is not the right person. Problem solving approach. Problem solving approach will be that always if there will be so many problems in the routine, but the approach is to solve the problem. So, the manager is not stressed, manager is not disturbed when a problem comes, rather than he tries to solve the problem. Then the communicating. In communication already I have discussed 6 C's are to be taken care of, and therefore, the clarity that should be very important is there, because whenever you are communicating with someone and then your message is clear, then understanding will be better and the efficient and implementation will be there. The another function in the managerial effectiveness, and that is becoming the process, is the cooperating process, because as I mentioned that is the business is a complex process. So, one activity is depending on the another activity, the previous activity, and this activity leads to the next activity, and therefore, these preceding and succeeding activities, right, they are depending on the cooperation. If there is a proper cooperation amongst the different departments, sections, groups, people, then definitely these activities that will be faster. But in the case if there is any hurdle, maybe the physical hurdle, maybe the mental hurdle. If there is a hurdle, then definitely that cooperating will not be the successful idea. So, what is required? Displaying, and then displaying. Now manager has to be very clear, that is, if he has developed any product or any process or performed, that has to be communicated, communication by displaying. So, when you are displaying, then definitely you are communicating, your output is there. The finally it comes to the product. So, when we talk about the person, then we talk about the process, these are the process, and then now we will talk about the product. So, people, process and product, this model will give us the idea of the managerial effectiveness by Campbell. Now, in the product, actually what is a product? Product is an outcome, right. It can be the physical, tangible, or it can be intangible. So, therefore, in that case the organization result, what they want? They want a profit maximization. And what is the profit? The old days are gone when the profit was the antisocial term. Now, when we talk about the profit, profit is the whatever investment is made in the resources, the ROI. So, it should not be, the profit should not be the antisocial term, rather than it should be the social term is there. Here, when you have come out with the product, so you have used all the resources, you have concern about the time, cost and quality also. You have use the man, machine, material, money, method and minutes also. So, finally what you are looking for? You are looking for efficiency. If efficient, your product has developed with the efficiency, definitely it will capture the market. Organizational stability. Now, organizational stability is very important. Now, in the era of competitiveness, because it becomes very difficult, that is have the stability. Every day is a new challenge, every day new products are coming, every day new technology is emerging, and as a result of which the stability, expectation of the stability, I think personally it is unrealistic. So, therefore, what is important is that is one should have the strong organizational stability. Then the high productivity. High productivity will be, that is whatever the production and the resources you have used, efficiency and effectiveness, and that productivity, that should be very high. So, it should not be only the production, right, but it is quantity, but it should also be the quality, and therefore, in the quantity and quality, that will talk about the productivity. If higher the productivity, then definitely in that case organizational will be more effective and efficient. So, unless and until the organization is not becoming the efficient and effective, then there cannot be the high productivity. Then employee welfare. In the case of the employee welfare, we will find that is they are different. Now, for example, Coca-Cola, or you take the Goldman Sachs, and there you will find that is in the welfare, whatever the minimum is there, and much more facilities are there. So, they organizations may provide you the healthy breakfast, they provide you the gym, so you can relax during your work time also. They will take care of their family benefits, they will take care of your housing, they will take care of your transportation, they will take care of your development, that is the academic development. And therefore, in that case when we talk about the employee welfare, many organizations are known for developing those type of the employee welfare is there. Then finally, we will talk about in the organization managerial effectiveness, that is a social welfare. Now, you see why in the many functions, roles of the manager, what I have talked about in these functions, their interaction with the society is very important. If there is an interaction with the society, then only there will be the social welfare. The social welfare will come out with the only when there is a proper interpersonal dynamism amongst the superior and subordinates in the organization, amongst the managers and subordinates in the organization, management and the union in the organization. And therefore, in that case, if an organizational environment we talk about, organizational environment will create the person, process and product. If in the case you are taking care of the individual characteristics, here I would also like to add the Holland's model, personality job fit model. So, individual characteristics, transformation process from the one place to the another, and the organizational results, I am sure that is the manager will be more effective. And here we should not forget that is this is totally a team building efforts, it is a group activity, and therefore, performing these functions you must have noticed your interpersonal relationship, that because you are dependent on the pre and the succeeding activities. So, therefore, you are required to have a strong interpersonal skills, and then I am sure that it will be higher will be the managerial effectiveness. Higher the strong interpersonal dynamics in the organization at the workplace, better will be the managerial effectiveness. So, this is all about the managerial effectiveness. Thank you.